Welcome, educators, leaders, and everyone invested in the future of our students. Today, we've got a really fantastic explainer lined up for you. We're going to dive into a beautifully clear, modern framework from Brunswick County Schools, and we're going to uncover exactly why professional learning teams, or PLTs, matter so much. We'll be looking at how they completely transform the educational experience, not just for the kids, but for the teachers and principals who dedicate their lives to this work every single day. Look, this isn't about just tossing another new initiative onto your already full plate. It's about fundamentally shifting how we actually approach teaching and learning. So get comfortable and let's jump right in.
So let's start with a truth we all know. Every single teacher works incredibly hard, and every principal desperately wants their students to succeed. But far too often, we're asking educators to solve incredibly complex problems completely alone. Just imagine the end of a really long school day. It's an empty classroom, the lights are still on, and a teacher is sitting at their desk surrounded by curriculum maps, just staring at a dozen open tabs on their computer. They're exhausted. They're carrying the full weight of their students' success squarely on their own shoulders. We really have to take a step back and empathetically recognize that hard work should never have to happen in isolation. Honestly, it's just a recipe for burnout.
And this dynamic really highlights the frustrating reality of that isolation. Picture this for a second. One teacher is spending hours building an assessment totally from scratch. Meanwhile, literally just down the hall, another teacher is giving up their precious evening to create a completely different assessment that covers the exact same standard. It's the same challenge, but they are doing completely separate work. They're unknowingly duplicating all this effort. But what if they work together? What if one teacher discovers a teaching strategy that absolutely lights up their classroom, and instead of keeping it in a silo, that idea travels down the hall? So here's the crucial takeaway. When a student in one class gets this highly engaging experience, and a student in another class really struggles with that exact same material, that inconsistency, it's not because educators don't care. The problem is absolutely not a lack of effort. The problem is a systemic flaw. Hard work without a shared, connected system is only going to take a school so far. The real opportunity we are looking at today is alignment. It's all about taking all of that isolated dedication and finally connecting it.
And that right there is exactly where professional learning teams come in. PLTs give us the actual structural system to create that alignment. Notice the rhythm of this framework. It's all about what we share. Shared clarity, shared evidence, shared action, shared responsibility. A PLT brings teachers together around a table to actually look at common assessments, map out the curriculum, and define crystal clear next steps together. They're engaged, they're productive, because they are finally sharing the load. It literally transforms the mindset from my kids and your kids into our kids.
Now, I know exactly what some of you might be thinking. Cue the collective sigh, right? Oh, great, not another meeting, not another district box to check. But the goal here is that a truly strong PLT is absolutely not another bureaucratic meeting. It's definitely not some passing initiative that's going to vanish by next year. It is a highly practical, focused system designed specifically to relieve pressure. This is the space where the real work of teaching actually gets easier, because for once, it's being shared.
All right, let's break this down a bit. A strong professional learning team is essentially just a group of educators answering 4 core essential questions together. Here's question number 1. What do we actually want students to learn? And this isn't just about skimming through a textbook to see what chapter is next. It's about gaining shared clarity on the absolute essential standards. It's teachers getting together to identify the specific learning targets that matter most, making sure every single student has a clear, understandable goal. Once we've nailed down exactly what they need to learn, we move straight to the second essential question. How will we know if they actually learned it? This is where teams develop common formative assessments. They aren't just guessing if the kids got it. They're bringing actual student work to the table, comparing notes, using quick checks for understanding, and gathering shared, objective evidence to see if the teaching actually resulted in learning. And of course, looking at that evidence naturally leads us right into the third question. How will we respond when they have not learned it? Because let's be real here, not every student is going to grasp a complex concept on their very first try. Instead of one teacher agonizing over how to reteach 30 kids totally alone, the team designs small group interventions, flex time, and targeted support. They pool their collective ideas to find a strategy that works, ensuring struggling students get help quickly. Finally, to round out the whole cycle, we have the fourth essential question. How will we extend learning when they already understand it? We absolutely cannot forget the students who master the standard immediately. So, the team works together to create enrichment opportunities, advanced tasks, and deeper applications, challenging those students with authentic problems. By answering these 4 questions as a united front, the entire landscape of the school's instruction changes. So, what's in it for the teachers? Well, the direct wins for educators are absolutely massive. We're talking less isolation and way less duplicated work. Because teachers are actually sharing lessons, sharing assessments, and sharing strategies. They aren't reinventing the wheel every Sunday night at their kitchen table. This naturally leads to better lessons, much faster support for new teachers who get to learn directly from experienced colleagues, and ultimately shared success. It is just a fundamentally better use of the time that educators already have.
Now, here is a really fascinating shift. It completely reframes how we look at data. We so often think of data as this terrifying spreadsheet filled with tiny numbers, right? Like an autopsy of a test that's already over, basically treating data as the finish line. But in a highly functioning PLT, data is simple, it's clear, and most importantly, it's actionable. It's simple green, yellow, and red indicators. It tells us exactly who needs reteaching, who needs intervention, and who needs enrichment, while there is actually still time to do something about it. Data isn't the finish line at all. It just tells us what to do next.
And for the principals and school leaders tuning in, this transformation is a huge paradigm shift. Principals are no longer tasked with the frankly impossible job of managing dozens of individual, isolated classrooms and trying to have every single answer yourself. Instead, PLTs create a much better way to lead. Leadership shifts to developing, supporting, and monitoring strong teams. It's about dropping into a meeting, listening, asking reflective questions, and really building the capacity of the incredibly talented people you already have in your building. But at the end of the day, we've got to pivot to the most important piece of this whole puzzle, the students. The goal of a PLT isn't to force every teacher to teach exactly the same way like a bunch of robots. The goal is equity. It's making sure that whether a student is in elementary, middle, high school, a fine arts class, or a core subject, they have access to the same essential learning and highly effective instruction. Every single student absolutely deserves more than just one educator's expertise. Every student deserves the collective power of a team working on their behalf. Just let this core truth sink in for a second. A student's future should not depend on luck. It shouldn't depend on which teacher's classroom happens to print out on their schedule in August. If a strong system is in place, the quality of instruction and support is guaranteed across the board. A strong PLT system protects our students, making sure they all get what they need. And it protects our educators from carrying an impossible burden all by themselves. Now, let's manage our expectations a bit here. Setting this up, it's not going to be flawless on day one. We lean on 3 core steps to get there. Start focused, learn together, improve continuously. Teams are genuinely going to need time to learn how to collaborate effectively. Leaders are going to need to fiercely protect the time set aside for this collaboration and provide coaching rather than criticism. It's all about celebrating those small wins, revising your plans when things don't work, and embracing a real culture of continuous improvement, cycle after cycle. So here's the bottom line, summarizing exactly why we must embrace this framework. We are not doing this just to check a box and say, hey, we have PLTs. We are doing this because no teacher should literally ever have to solve every single problem alone. No principal should have to exhaust themselves trying to improve instruction one isolated classroom at a time. And no student's success should ever depend on the luck of the draw. We do this to ensure that hard work is connected, it's focused, and it's multiplied. This is about finally doing the most important work together. When we commit to shared clarity, shared evidence, action, and responsibility, we build a system where absolutely everyone thrives. One district, one shared commitment. We are simply better together for every student. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought to take back to your own schools today. If your educators are currently working in isolation, how much brilliant, life-changing expertise is currently locked behind a closed classroom door, just waiting to be shared with the team? Thank you so much for exploring this explainer with me today, and keep learning together.